published 1809 Eastern Standard Time, the 24th of February 2018, updated 12:39 Eastern Standard Time, the 25th of February 2018. The super middleweight with the broadest smile in this medieval German city was George Groves as his English opponent in the World Super Series final was taken at 12 rounds by a reconstructed kickboxer whose preceding win at boxing came in front of an audience of just 10 people in his local gym. Callum Smith managed to use his rangy height and caterpillar reach to eke out victory over Dutch substitute Nieky Holzken in the second semi-final of this tournament. Smith deserved the verdict, but the official scoring was grossly generous. Witness the boos and catcalls from the largely neutral local crowd as two cards of 118 to 110 and one of 117 to 111 were announced. Callum Smith books place in the World Boxing Super Series final after beating Nieky Holzken. The 27-year-old unanimously won on a points decision against the reconstructed kickboxer. The Liverpudlian will now face George Groves, left in the World Boxing Super Series final. Groves revealed after the fight he is very confident that he will recover in time for the final. The smaller but more aggressive champion, refugee from a number of combat sports, deserved better than that. Perhaps the 116 to 112 which I saw. But the real encouragement for Groves to shake off his shoulder injury in time for the final was to be seen in what he rightly described as another, not very convincing performance from the man he is expected to face on a shortly after June 2 at London's O2 Arena. Smith had his nose badly damaged and complained of damage to both hands late, but there was a predictability of movement and a lack of sufficient punching power to take out Holzken, never mind Groves. And St. George is likely to take more hurtful advantage of the openings Smith left for the Dutchman's right hooks. Groves had assured Smith he would be fit, ready and waiting for him in the final, assuming the youngest of the four fighting Smith brothers came through this bizarre semi-final. It wasn't Smith's best performance, and he admitted he underestimated the Dutchman St. George, who dislocated his shoulder while pummeling Chris Eubank Jr. in the first semi-final, had shed his shoulder sling before appearing at ringside and said, "I'm confident of recovering in time for the final. I didn't know who Callum was fighting. I deserve to be in the final, and the Muhammad Ali trophy is too important for a substitute opponent. I can't say 100% I'll be there until I get the final scan report on Monday, but it all looks and feels good. I'm looking at weeks, rather months, before I can fight again, and if I need a delay beyond June 2 at the O2, it will only be for the short time they can accommodate." Smith came into a half-empty room located in a field next door to the vast open space once used for a very different kind of gathering. Those, of course, were pre-fight rabble-rousers for a totally different, truly horrific combat. Smith showed composure early on as he continued to land his left-hand jab. On Saturday night, Holzken started to respond in the fifth round, but Smith dominated throughout the bout. This one, as an exhibition of the sweeter science of boxing, would have drawn a larger audience had the scheduled German opponent not fallen sick and been replaced by a converted Dutch kickboxer. Even so, since the capacity of the Nuremberg Arena is barely 10,000, fewer than 5,000 locals and a quorum of Liverpudlians were in attendance. The travelling Merseysiders kicked up a bit of a din, and without them it would have been like King Prize fighting in church. Smith's 1-40 odds as the favourite suggested his biggest problem might be taking this fight seriously enough for him to maintain concentration. Complacency is a treacherous companion in the ring, but the enriching prize at stake would surely help keep his mind on the job. That is one of the beauties of this form of tournament, in which even bigger checks await the finalists. Furthermore, the young man called Mundo had not been his usual impressive self in the quarterfinal against Erik Skoglund, and he admitted he needed to mount a convincing performance if indeed it is Groves who would be facing him in the final. At 3 inches taller, Smith enjoyed a substantial reach advantage, and he immediately went to work behind that long left jab. Holzken landed a few blows on Smith but didn't trouble the 27-year-old Englishman. Holzken arrived from the martial arts with a reputation as a destructive body puncher, but from the onset it looked like being a painful exercise for him to get inside. Holzken went to work with a stronger will in the second, which he opened by landing to head and body. But he was turned back not only by the Smith jab but also a couple of head-snapping uppercuts. However, there was concern in Smith's corner and he was slow to come out for the third. The issue appeared to be a broken nose, and his attempt to finish it quickly left him open to some stinging combinations from an encouraged opponent. There was an exchange of hands, dropped challenges to manhood in the fourth as more blood flowed from the Smith nostrils. True to his word, Holzken was sticking to his task. So much so that, to the confusion of all who had expected him to be gone by now, he barnstormed his way to winning the fifth with flurries of punches, most hearty right hooks to a barely guarded Smith head. There was more unexpected consternation as trainer Joe Gallagher found reason with something in the ring to again delay the start of a round. The Dutchman was a late replacement for Jurgen Brahma, who pulled out with illness. Their extra breather enabled Smith to shake off too early signs of fatigue. But even though won the sixth, a big right hand from the Dutchman sent him wobbling back to the corner. He barely made it at the end of the seventh. Little Nieky launched a furious late onslaught, and the bell came as a relief for Smith. The Liverpool support was falling quiet, while the neutral majority were getting behind the aggressive outsider. Smith probably rallied enough to edge the eighth, despite flagging again at the end and being caught by a huge right a split second after the bell. Still, Holzken was going nowhere, and this was a remarkable performance by a boxing novice. Had the American referee not had to interrupt them twice as the tape around the Dutchman's glove came loose, he might have inflicted further damage in the ninth. Smith preempted Holzken's grandstand finishes to the rounds by holding through the last 20 seconds of the 10th, and getting good for that spoiling tactic. Smith also appeared to be complaining to his corner of damage to both hands, and he shipped more heavy punishment in the last.